Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about list comprehensions. This is another video part of the Python Fundamental series. List comprehensions are a concise and powerful way to create lists. A list comprehension consists of the expression, a loop, and also a optional condition to filter out elements. The basic syntax for list comprehension is using the square bracket notation. You first have your expression, a for statement, the item, in, an iterable, and a if condition if you have one. The reason why list comprehensions are used, it can simplify your code and it's generally a bit more readable as compared to creating a list using a for loop. I wanted to show you the different types of list comprehensions you can use in Python. And first I'll be giving you the normal way of creating a list, and then I'll show you the list comprehension equivalent. The first example of list comprehensions would be creating a basic list. So here we want to create a list of squares. The normal way to create a list would be to run through the numbers in a range, and then we append every single number after taking its square. Whereas in a list comprehension, what you could do is to have your expression, which is x squared 2, 4x in range 10. And you see that we get the same output. So basically, list comprehensions is just a very compact way of expressing how you normally create a list. To create a list with a condition, you can add a if statement at the end of the list comprehension. So normally, if we were to use a for loop, we will have the conditional statement inside the for loop block. Whereas in the list comprehension, we can have the conditional statement at the end of the list comprehension. And you can also see that a list comprehension is more readable in the sense that you can say you want x for x in range 10 if x mod 2 equals 0. That's a bit more readable than a traditional for loop block. As you can see, we have the same outputs. For nested list comprehensions, normally you have a nested for loop within the normal way of creating a list. But in a list comprehension, what you could do is to have the initial for loop to be the expression, and then have the second for loop to finish off the list comprehension. And again, as you can see, the output is the same. As to when you want to create a list with multiple conditions, if you were to use conditional statements like and or, what you could do is to have the statement at the end of the list comprehension, similar to if you were to just have a normal if statement. In the scenarios where you have an if-else statement, so essentially it's a binary decision, you can use the if-else statement at the beginning of the list comprehension, where you're essentially stating you want this value if it's true, or we have this value if it's false. If you wanted to implement a function when creating a list, what you could do is to add the function when you are declaring your expression, which is the same as if you were to transform your targeted word when you append it in a normal for loop. And finally, say you had a list of nested elements and you want to flatten the entire list, you can also use a list comprehension. Here we're given a 2D matrix with elements already in it, and we're trying to flatten the matrix into having just one single one-dimensional list. To do that, we're doing a nested for loop, and then we're appending every element one at a time. We can achieve the same output by having a list comprehension. Bear in mind, sometimes list comprehensions aren't always the most readable, and potentially you'll prefer using the traditional for loop. But if you were to prefer using a list comprehension to flatten a 2D matrix, what you would do is to first get the element for the row in the matrix for element in the row. So the output of this would be a flattened 1D matrix. Thank you for watching this quick video running you through the different list comprehensions you can use in Python. I hope you learned something new. And definitely bear in mind that list comprehension isn't always the preferred method. Sometimes, in some scenarios, it would be better and more readable if you were to use the traditional method of just using a for loop. So just keep that in mind when you are creating your own programs. And I hope you learned something new. This is a video part of the Python Fundamental series. Please like or subscribe if you appreciate these videos. Also, stay tuned for more videos coming in the series.